Hello, welcome to Mostly Off Topic. And today we're going to be talking about the second edition Kickstarter just released. Well, yesterday by this time. We're just going to cover off a little bit of background about Kickstarter, just show you kind of what's there and available currently. Things move fast in the Kickstarter world, so this will be aging pretty rapidly. But then we're going to talk about where we're at in terms of any pledges we've made, what we're thinking about for second edition, and maybe a little bit of a tease about what we might do with second edition when it lands later this year, 2021. Bit of history then for everybody. So Cubicle 7, who owned the license to the One Ring first edition, had already identified that they were going to do a second edition. They had put out some newsletters that talked about it. There's some beautiful collector's edition stuff that had been kind of put forward. I think they'd even called for pre-orders and released some PDFs and stuff like that. Then they lost the license in whatever reason, who knows. But they were actually getting a license from Sophisticated Games, and the author, the developer of the One Ring, Francesco Nepito, and Sophisticated Games found a new place in Free League, who have produced quite a number of RPG games based in Sweden, managed licenses like the Aliens RPG, for instance. And they have picked it up. They've started to refine it. I've seen that Francesco said, good news, actually, I've had a bit more time to refine stuff now. So it's had more development cycle. So, silver lining. Haven't got it yet, but silver lining. And they have launched their Kickstarter. The way that Kickstarters work is essentially you make a pledge. If the Kickstarter received as much money as the target is to enable them to fulfill it, then everybody gets the cash taken out of their bank accounts, and then the goods start to roll off. Pretty much now, Kickstarter is a fairly mature model for these organisations. They know what they're doing. They've costed it out. They've got it to such a state that they're basically ready to roll it to the printer as soon as it goes. And it's supposed to be released in November 2021. PDFs and hard copy will kind of get shunted out. Printed in the UK, so hopefully we won't get caught in any kind of like postage snags there. And there are a number of different tiers that you can kind of pledge at. So if you just want to know what's happening, you can basically pledge a minimum amount of money. You don't get a reward, but you get all the updates. And then you can pledge at any point through the duration of the Kickstarter, so you can kind of see whether it's for you or not. Then there's the long expected party, where you get pretty much the starter set and core rules in PDF format, so it's just digital. You then have the Road Goes Ever On, where you get the standard edition hardback and PDF, and then the starter set PDF only, and you get any digital stretch goals that have been released. And there's an alpha PDF version that are going to get released in the summer of 2021. So we'll all get our hands in this alpha release, which will probably be the final release, but not spell checked as well. Yeah, there'll be some snafus of text or what have you, but fundamentally it's not going to change. The Fellowship of the Ring, which is where you get the standard edition hardback printed PDF. You get the proper printed box set for the starter set. And then you get all of the physical and digital goals as well as the alpha rules. And then there is the Fellowship of the Ring. No, then there's Precious, which is the deluxe limited 10th anniversary collector's edition, leather, faux leather, gold, stamped adornments, Tengwa script. It's a collector's edition because it's exclusive to the Kickstarter. This will not get published in this format anywhere else. You'll be able to get the standard stuff in a friendly local game store, but this one is just available. Blah blah blah, so on and so forth. Physical and digital stretch goals, alpha version of the PDF. And if you're a retailer, then you can chuck in for your retailer pledge as well, where you get 5 sets of stuff. Funded in 4 minutes, up to about £500,000 at the moment. Typically happens with Kickstarters is you get a huge push at the start, it then flattens out a bit, and then you get a huge push at the end. But it's worth looking at. It's worth thinking about. They, I think, have said that they will look at Adventures in Middle-earth downstream. So this is going to be the only new One Ring Middle-earth role-playing that you kind of get. A couple other things about this. It has moved the orbit of the One Ring to Eriador. So kind of moved it away from Mirkwood and the Anduin Vale, shifted across the Misty Mountains into Eriador, which probably means we're going to get a much more detailed treatment of Eriador. Some of the criticism of the Rivendell source book, which introduced the Eriador for the first edition, is it's kind of like Eriador. It's got trolls, odd ruin. That's your whack. So hopefully we'll get a more rich thing for Eriador. Hobbits of the Shire. Some of the stretch goals are really cool. Lots of new adventures, lots of more detail being introduced. A source book for the Shire, new characters in the starter set. The Sauronic dice, which is not yet unlocked, but looks so cool. So some black and red Lawmaster dice. And I just think the word Sauronic needs to be used more frequently, if I'm entirely honest. So you can head over to Kickstarter, just search The One Ring with regards to that. Even if you're sat there thinking, do you know what, I'm happy with the first edition, it does everything I want to do, just go and have a look at it, because there's just some cool flavor text, some cool discussion about what they're doing. It might just tweak your fancy, I guess. And it'll show you some of the art direction that they've moved towards with the artists that they prefer and their in-house art team. Really, I think that's all I kind of got to say really there. So I guess let's start with you, Joe. What are you thinking? Have you pledged?
I have. I've just pledged a couple of hours ago. I went. I was kind of hovering just because personal reasons. I bought a car last month and trying not to spend too much. I spent a lot on guitar stuff over lockdown, but this game's just so close to my heart, and we've been playing first edition for a good few years now, playing through lockdown, and it's just one of those things can't ignore it. So I'm really excited for it. I think, like you say, the delays are a good thing. It's given Francesco and the team at Free League more time to get it right. Superficial stuff. I like the new art style. I've got nothing against John Hodgson's art style. Love his landscapes, and his sense of place is perfect. Characters are less kind of evocative for me, really. But the character artwork in the new edition is really nice from what I've seen. Also, the graphic design, the layout looks really clean and simple. Everything's just really nicely laid out. So hopefully they've got the structure right as well. And I've seen a couple of shots of pages where it's like how to play section, which makes perfect sense. That's what a player will need, and then more kind of logical structure and sections. I think that's what the game has always needed, things grouped together better. Other than that, Eriador, cool. I'm fine with that. It's not like my go-to setting, but I think it's absolutely right that they stick to that thing of focusing on one region and not letting it kind of spread out too quickly, too early on. Like you say, ruins and things like that. So there's a lot to explore. That's a good introduction to the game. Bree is going to feature. So I guess in terms of cultures, we're going to see a lot of men. You're going to see, you might see some kind of low-level ranger. You're going to see hobbits, obviously, and you're going to see more kind of, I don't know, slightly dour men of Bree and simpler folk, I guess. And then you'll get your loftier classes as the expansions start to come. Or hopefully there's enough conversion stuff there that you can fold it in from first edition material. Nothing else really. Oh, the some of the rules and the tightening up sounds interesting. Hope they've switched around a little bit to make it smoother. And there's something about magical dice results, which I'm guessing is about Tenguars and Gandalf runes and things like that. But yeah, it all sounds positive to me.
Cool. Matt, are you in?
Hello. Okay. That's a very sort of robust explanation by Joe, and I second most of that stuff. I've had a look. Okay, answering the question, right. I haven't, but there's a special day in the year which is called My Birthday, which is coming up sort of soonish. You know, you can
Is that a
link
hint
it
for
up.
us?
Yeah,
think so.
so that Yeah,
You
that
need to speak
red
louder
book.
if it's for the wife.
Oh no, that has already been discussed. Application is currently pending, but I'm being hopeful. You know, I'm probably not going to mention details because, like, spending next to £100 on a red book. But yeah, sorry, no, the top option seems sensible because of all the sort of printed content, and I guess this is where you sort of distinguish whether you like digital, whether you like the physical sort of paper stuff. I'd have to admit I do like a feeling of holding a book, a bit of paper, minus the paper cuts, of course. What do I like about the new stuff? I think the main thing is about the background. Okay, the lore stuff. Then the guys are gonna spend quite a lot of time. They have employed some interesting writers, and they're going to basically flesh out some stuff from Tolkien's work and put it into interesting areas, interesting places, and interesting characters. Hopefully, so that I'm all about that. I do like that west side of the Misty Mountains. There are some fancy ruins that I would like to see. Perhaps, you know, my character want to find some treasure there or some sort of magical weapon or that kind of thing. I do like the little sort of, I call them fancy bits. You know, the little stands cards, and then this other bit that's coming up with the traveling. You know, where it's just so nice. It's so simple, sitting around the table. Maybe we don't have to go miniatures like we did in our last Eve, but it's nice. You know, it's nice to have that little physical aspect. And I love this weapon stuff as well. You know, like when you talk about, for example, and I know, Paul, you like to push for your theatrics, and okay, tell me how you have dismembered him. Well, I can sort of have a look at that little sort of weapon or a mattock at the moment, and sort of, you know, that helps your imagination build that sort of narrative where you want to say, oh yeah, this is how it goes. They're gonna pay. And I think finally the magical items. I'm looking a little bit towards that. Obviously, we know Tolkien has that very subtle magical thing. There are no sort of mages, nobody's casting spells, but magic is there. But most of us will probably never understand it. But it's nice to be able to, I don't know, find a little dagger from the Second Age, and then just carry it and talk about it at the, you know, campfire, telling everyone. Maybe not everyone, because it's likely it can get nicked. But, you know, trusted friends, you can say, oh, you know, look at that little thing. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for, and hopefully, you know, we'll be here soon.
Fantastic, thank you, Matt. Ben, are you in?
Not yet. I too have bought a car recently. It seems to be a theme. I probably will be. It's probably going to be the Fellowship of the Ring pledge level. So that's the physical everything, but not the special editions. And I don't really like special editions. Like, faux leather and gold typeface isn't really me. I generally default to, I'd rather have the pretty artwork that comes on the regular one. Physical edition mainly because it's I've got a dice habit as well, and those sort of like the new sort of cream and red dice in that new font that then matches with all the character sheets and stuff looks very, very appealing to me. I also like the idea of, like, I was saying, the item cards. I like the idea of kind of like it's something a bit kind of more. It's a bit of a departure. As into making the equipment that you carry has always been like an important part of the One Ring. It's kind of like, especially when they start being from your race and specific like that. But to have like a little card or a little blurb on would be quite nice. Kind of like have them stacked up. Again, that's just part of I like having a tableau in front of me for physical things. Really like the fact that the previous modules should be able to be tweaked in with only a bit of tweaking from what they say. I like that. I think that's a really nice kind of touch. I think too often there's like a culture at the minute of, oh, this is the second edition, burn everything you've just spent a couple of £100 purchasing because it no longer matters. Whereas actually to still be able to kind of like use our books and use kind of like that, the resources we've got. On the whole, I'm just quite. It went from like, oh, exciting when it first got announced to, oh, all the trials and tribulations that you mentioned. And I'm just kind of relaxed and optimistic about it now. I just feel that we've suddenly gone from like nothing and just a few rumors on sites here and there that it was coming to actually look at all this artwork, look at all these kind of assets that are actually ready and made and could be in your hands within the space of a year. I do like the fact that the alpha PDFs will be coming out super early as well, so that it's kind of you can get going and kind of start getting thinking about what your character is and ready for when your nice collection of toys drops in a box. I do love the artwork. It's very much my sort of. It's probably the closest I've seen to my mental envisaging of like the sort of characters and the different races and stuff that I've seen so far. It's what reading it invoked in my head. And I know, like you've said before, like across the group, that they've actually wanted to pull it back and really tight to the source material again. And I think they're kind of the artists they've picked. Like I say, it's very similar to what my kind of how I've always imagined these things to look. So it's a nice reinforcement element. Yeah, quietly optimistic.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I'm sure that we're going to talk second edition at various points as we kind of go through. We'll get our hands on the rules. We'll look at it. We'll follow the Kickstarter updates. It's going to be good. And I think, as you say, Ben, it's pretty much here, isn't it? It's just a matter of time now. And then we'll have that reinvigoration. So looking forward to it. So thank you, guys, for that. And if you're interested in One Ring stuff, there's loads of videos done mostly by Joe on the channel. There's general chit chat, and of course there's the Laughter of Dragons, which you'll see the frame around us is our actual play, which you can just hit up on the YouTube channel. We're quite a few episodes in, but don't feel that's a problem. You can just watch it organically. And we will be releasing it in podcast format for audio files everywhere very, very shortly. Good to chat. Speak soon.
See ya.